Hello, everyone. Welcome to Generation In Between, a Xennial podcast where we revisit, remember, and sometimes relearn all kinds of things from being 80s kids and 90s teens. And welcome to an episode of our Xennial Girl Summer
Yes.
Movie Edition.
Movies.
Because we've got a book edition and a movie edition. And this movie has come up quite a few times in our podcasting. I don't really know why.
It has had weird intersections.
I know. And so it's come up a few times. So we're like, all right, we have to add this to the list. So the movie we rewatched and are chatting about today is Porky's. And
Yes.
I could not wait for two things. Number one, Katie to watch it for the very first time.
Oh my God.
And number two, to rewatch it as an adult. Because I hadn't seen it since I was a teenager, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to watch it again. I wasn't as disgusted as I thought I was gonna be.
Okay.
Put it that way. We'll get into more details later. And I also remembered a whole lot more boobs and sex than there actually was.
Okay.
And you're like,
there was a lot though.
I know, but there was more story than I remember.
Okay. That's fair.
Like, I just remember a lot more gratuitous things. But anyway, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into our chat about it. I've got some background and some history, not a whole lot. Just some facts and what did you call them when we did Clueless?
Fly facts.
So I wonder what we could say for this. I don't even know. I should have thought of something
Yeah,
raunchy.
we'll think about it. Raunchy facts.
Raunchy facts. They're not really raunchy facts,
Oh, okay.
so I don't know. But guys, before we get going, like this, Katie and I are a mess again. I feel like I'm always saying
You're like,
that.
sorry, we're a mess.
We have a lot
It's
going
true.
on in our lives. We're not going to get
Yes.
into that because we'll cry and rage, and it's just not. Anyway, if you're watching us on YouTube, we also have Katie. Your face. We also have these. What are these called?
They're kind of external mic filters.
Ooh, external mic filters.
Yeah.
Even though her husband told us we didn't need these because our mics have little soft thingies over it. I don't know. I don't do the sound, obviously, but she wanted to try it because it drives her crazy when we pop our peas and smack our lips.
It does. It drives me nuts. So I was like,
and you're trying to sit very still today.
I know. I am. I really am. I just generally fidget a lot and I use my hands when I talk. So I guess like seeing video too has like made me like, oh, why am I always touching my face? Why am I always moving? So I'm just trying to sit still.
Guys, we don't like watching ourselves on video.
No.
Why?
I mean, I never watch like the whole YouTube videos. I do listen to our episodes. That's where I hear the sound things. But obviously I watch like our social clips and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, look, I don't really care. This is who I am. This is what I look like. This is what I sound like. But
we care.
After a while, I'm like, ugh, why am I doing that? Why do I look like that? Why am I slouching? You know, so
I know.
You might as well try to not do it.
We are our own worst critics.
We are.
And anyway, we are kind of a mess today. And my face has exploded like I'm 16, which is appropriate since we're talking about a teen movie.
We are.
That's my body responds to stress in like external ways, which is really fun, guys. It's so fun.
I feel you.
Oh God. Anyway. So
my husband walked by me this morning and he kind of just like, I just had a look like my little dog who's so mean, like, you know, when to not pet her, like she just gives you that look. And I had that look and he kind of like took a step back and I said, I'm really irritable and sad this morning.
Yeah.
And he was like, I was like, he's like, oh, okay. Well, I'll just come over here. I was like, it's not you actually.
Right.
It's just everything. I'm just telling you, I'm in a mood.
Just
I'm in some kind of way.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay.
I do that too. Irritable and sad is our perfect, but we're not going to have that vibe on the pod. Don't worry.
No, actually, I'm very excited to be here right now.
Actually, I think it's going to be good for us. So let's just jump in.
Let's do it.
Let's kick the irritable and sadness away and let's talk about boobs and misogyny.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm here for it.
So here's the official summary of the movie Porky's. In 1954, a group of Florida high school guys try to help their buddy lose his virginity, which leads them to seek revenge on a sleazy nightclub owner and his redneck sheriff brother for harassing them.
Yes.
Cinematic gold right there.
Someone said, this sounds like a good plot for a movie. And it's in 1954, which for some reason I didn't know that. And it really threw me off. I was like, when is this supposed to be? It took me a bit.
You'll see why it was in the 50s in a minute.
Okay.
But here's what I really liked. Los Angeles Times in their review described it this way. 6 horny Florida teenagers venture out in search of a good lay and tumble into a series of misadventures climaxed by the trashing of a bayou whorehouse.
So, and maybe you'll get into this.
Okay.
But were in the 50s, were there a lot of like suburbs in Florida that would have had?
Well, it wasn't a suburb. They drove to, it was in another town.
I'm just saying, like in general, like that school. I don't know. I always
I mean,
like
we
Florida
had a strip club in our suburban town named Scuttlebutt.
I mean,
so where?
I mean, Florida in general. Like, not a lot of people lived here back then, is what I'm getting at. So this idea that it was like this populated place that had a high school and then you went somewhere else. I don't know, especially South Florida.
Okay, we're going to bump into there, and then I'll just go ahead and tell you this fact.
Okay.
The writer-director of the movie, Bob Clark, he actually based this movie on his actual life.
Okay.
At Boca Ciega High School in Gulfport, Florida.
Okay.
And then also Fort Lauderdale High School in the early 60s. And also there was a venue called Porky's Hideaway in Oakland Park. So, yes, to answer your question, I did know the answer, guys. I knew the answer. So that's why it took place at the time it did.
Got it.
I mean, his was in the early 60s.
Yeah,
not
but,
like that much different. But anyway, now that we have that fact established, do you know where we've heard the name Bob Clark before?
I remember.
Yeah, tell him.
A Christmas Story.
That's right. He directed A Christmas Story in 1983. And this movie came out, did I not write it down? It was 81, right?
It was 82.
82. Oh, it was made in 81 and it was in theaters in 82. Okay. Anyway, and actually interesting, the studio that he approached did not want to make Christmas Story unless he agreed to make Porky's 2 because it made so much money in the
because the other Porky's was already out.
Yeah.
So Porky's Part 2.
Yeah. They were like, we don't want to make Christmas Story unless you make a sequel.
Okay.
And he's like,
so you're
all right.
So they basically, you don't want to contract me for one movie. You want to contract me for 2. Great. Sounds good.
That was the only reason they wanted to do it was if he made the sequel.
I like that though.
Yeah. So there's some like interesting facts. I told you he based it on like his like growing up time, his coming of age. He said he used his real life high school and college. He kind of mixed them together.
Got it. I could see that.
And as the basis for various characters, he compared himself, like it was like him and his friends.
Okay.
He said he was kind of a mixture of Pee-wee, Billy, and Tommy.
Okay.
The three, the three main kids. And he said other characters were based on like real life friends or acquaintances that he went to school with.
So one thing I had trouble with this movie is keeping track of who was who. All the boys kind of looked the same to me. It took me a long time to be like, well, I guess Pee-wee kind of stood out.
Well, yeah.
But like, and Meat. But like, generally I was like, wait, which one is that?
And Billy and Tommy, I know.
All confused.
Well, they all look the same. Well, and the blonde kid, he was easy to identify.
Yeah, he was easier to identify.
But the other 3 all were like brunettes.
Yeah. And I don't know. I was just kind of like, I know that this is how movies all kind of used to look. But I don't know if I'm just like now seeing it through like a lens of like, we try a little harder to not have and I know this is real life too. But it was just like in the time period, but I was just like, man, they all look the same.
Okay. Also, Katie, you guys watch this at a very interesting time of day. Tell them when you watch this.
It was like 4:30 in the morning when I started it.
And I'm not saying she stayed up till 4:30 in the morning.
Oh no. This was the first thing I got to watch that morning, and I watched about half, and then I watched the other half the next day. Same time of day. Look, once my day gets going, forget it. I can have intentions to like at 3:00 when I have a break between lessons, I'm going to watch it, and it won't happen.
I think that is the funniest thing. When she texted me at like 6:30 in the morning and said something about Porky's, I was like, Are you for real watching that right now? First of all, I can't imagine starting my day with that movie. Second, I have to be having some kind of snacks. Troy and I drank a really nice bottle of wine while watching this, which is hilarious because it was like this fancy bottle of wine he got me for my birthday, and we're watching fucking Porky's.
Yeah, that's great. I think I wanted to watch it with my husband, but yeah, we've just been so busy.
Yeah,
and
y'all
I ran
got a
out
lot
of time. He did say, he was like, because we watched it on YouTube, because I'm guessing no streaming services want it, but it's not anywhere streaming that
No,
I
it's
could
not. You
find.
can't even rent it.
You can't even pay to rent it. But we did find a full length on YouTube. And so I told him, I said, well, I'm watching it on YouTube. And he goes, oh, it must be like censored then. And I was like, not really.
It's not. Not at all. I think somebody just videoed their VCR tape of it.
There was literally a warning. Did you see the warning at the beginning? Maybe maybe it's just a filter I have or something. But it was like, I had to click a button basically saying that I'm aware that it's offensive to some people and I still want to watch it. That was before it started.
Well, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we watched it on YouTube, guys, if you're trying to find it. Okay, so here's just some boring little facts about, well, they're not boring, but like some numbers. The first little thing is Bob Clark actually got really sick with mono in 1979. Katie had that last year. Remember that?
I did.
She didn't even know she had it. She's
know.
like, why am I so tired?
They're like, you had mono like within the last 2 months. I'm like, I did? They're like, yeah.
Only Katie could push through mono and not know she had it. Anyway, he got really sick with mono in 1979. So he dictated the story that he wanted to make of this movie. I wrote this guy's last name, but for some reason I didn't write his first name. Anyway, the guy's last name was Swaybill, which I just thought that was really fun.
That's a fun name.
I don't know what his first name is because for some reason I didn't put it. And he worked with this guy on the film Breaking Point, which I've never seen. I don't know anything about it. So that guy wrote the draft of the script while it was dictated to him. Okay. Well, every studio in Hollywood turned it down at first. They were like, yeah, no, we're not making this trash. But then Clark eventually obtained financing from a Canadian firm. All right. Melvin Simon Productions was the name of the studio. And then Astral Bellevue Path was the name of the Canadian financing firm. I just thought the names of those were so Canadian and great.
Yeah.
Oh, my computer. Hello.
And it's so official, like for
I know
a movie that is named Porky.
Porky. Yeah. I know. So the film actually had to be made in Canada to obtain government tax benefits. So it was mostly filmed in Canada, even though it was supposed to be in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this meant that Bob Clark got sole screen credit as writer.
That's good, right?
So the Swaybill guy got left out completely.
But he didn't write it. He just dictated it?
Well, that's what I was confused about. But afterwards, they did give Swaybill reimbursement, little 6-figure sum.
Okay.
And they had him listed as co-writer on the sequel. So he got, don't feel bad for Mr. Swaybill, whatever his first name is.
Yes.
And this was such a fun fact. Howard Stern actually bought the rights to Porky's. He wanted to make a redo for years and had Bob Clark's permission, and he just could not find a studio to back him to make it today.
Yeah. I mean,
for obvious reasons.
No way you could do this.
You could not remake this movie now. No. You would have to change a lot.
Yeah, I mean you could, but all the things that you know, kind of make it iconic.
Right. It would not be a blockbuster success.
It'd be no.
So anyway, so that was a fun little fact. But actually, the film, when it came out in the box office, made buku money.
I'm sure.
It was at the top of the charts for a while. And but I mean, film critics bashed it. And I have to tell you some of the things.
Okay.
Like Siskel and Ebert called it one of the worst films of 1982. But I thought I wrote something else, but I guess I forgot. So never mind. That's all I have. Worst film. That's all you need to know.
Everyone thought it.
The movie was number one its first weekend of release, which for some of y'all that y'all might not think that's a big deal. But back in the day when your only way to watch movies was to go to them, like everybody showing up for a movie that they didn't know anything about, except they saw the poster. So guess what got them there? The idea of sex. There you go.
Yeah, I think just the idea that, so was this just rated R?
Yeah,
Or-
so I'll talk to
or
you about that in
beyond.
a second.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah.
So then you figure, especially younger people, if you hear once people see it, oh my God, there's boobs and full frontal and all these things, you're gonna go.
Right.
Right.
So the movie was number 1 for 8 consecutive weeks.
Wow.
And it came out at the same time as E.T.
What?
Yeah.
It beat E.T.
For a few weeks, it sure did.
Oh my God.
Isn't that wild?
That is crazy.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg. Can you imagine? Like, hey, look at my movie beating you. Yeah.
Wow.
It earned more than 100 million domestically in 82, and it was that year's 5th highest grossing release.
Dang.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
So, okay, it was originally given an X rating.
Okay.
Before it had some revisions.
Okay.
So one of the revisions, there was a 2022 interview with Mark Harrier, who played Billy. Okay. Don't ask me which one that guy was.
I was gonna say, which guy's that?
I don't know. One of the brown headed guys.
Okay, that guy.
Or was that the blonde guy? Anyway,
I don't know.
he said that they shot a more graphic scene of the shower scene.
Really?
Where they actually showed the penis in the hole.
In the hole. Okay.
And here's what he said. He said, this was him directly quoted, guys. They filmed him putting his pee-pee through the hole, and it started to come out. The girls are reacting to it like it's a snake coming out of the ground, and it was actually this pathetic little thing. I think it would have brought the house down. It was hysterical and not pornographic at all. It would have been exactly what Bob intended, which was silly and pathetic. So they were making fun of the small, I'm assuming limp penis.
Yes. So all they had to do was not have that in.
So they took that out, and then there was a couple of other. I don't think that was a major revision.
Okay.
Of the movie. And then I think there was something else that wasn't, like, it didn't change the scene, but that was the one I saw about. And I just thought what his that he said pee made me laugh.
That's hilarious anyway.
It made me laugh. Yeah. So Tommy, and I think it was the actor playing Tommy. It was his actual pee.
Oh my God. I don't know. I trust me, this film had more nudity than I think I needed to see, but it was mostly female nudity.
Of course it was.
So, like, I'm kind of like,
here's the
that's
thing.
okay to leave in, but you put a penis in there and now we can't show it anymore?
That's the thing about ratings is female full frontal nudity is an R rating. If you have male full frontal, it changes sometimes. And it has to do with how long it's on the screen.
Right.
And, like, all of that.
Like, if they just, I know I've seen, which one is it? Is it the Sarah Marshall movie, maybe? I don't know. Where Forgetting Sarah Marshall, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Where you see him very quickly when he, like, walks by.
Right.
Like,
and they have more male frontal nudity now than they used to.
True.
Not like I'm keeping score.
You're like, well, Dani's tallies. Yeah.
But that's why it's fucking patriarchy in our ratings.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I don't need to see any of it personally, but, like, that doesn't seem fair.
Maybe you do, Katie. Maybe you do.
Maybe that's my whole problem.
Maybe that's why you're irritable and sad. More
Maybe
male frontal.
There you go. I'll let Brant know. He'll be thrilled to hear this.
All right. Put it on your list for the weekend.
Okay.
All right. So this was a fun fact to find. There's a video game based on the film that came out.
What?
Yeah. It was also titled Porky's. It was released for the Atari and then also for Atari 8-bit computers. It came out in 1983. And the summary of it was like, the player controls Pee-wee as he attempts to blow up Porky's bar by collecting a series of objects hidden in a shower room.
Wow.
It was actually funny to see screenshots of this. Like, it actually looked kind of fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, I didn't know that was a thing. So there you go. There was a video game. So I have some actor tidbits. I don't have a whole lot. Not many of them did much bigger things after Porky's.
Okay.
Porky's was like a lot of their big breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest break. Let me put it there. Biggest breaks. Some of them, though, you probably recognize.
Yeah.
And most of the characters in this movie returned to the sequel.
Okay.
because the sequel is called Porky's 2 The Next Day. And it's literally the next day after they blow up. And then they actually have 3 Porky, or they have 4. Anyway, so most of them are in the sequel.
Okay.
So anyway, okay, the guy who played Pee-wee, Don Moynihan, and Mark Harrier, who played Billy, interesting fact, they were both serious theater actors.
Wow.
Before they were in Porky's. Dan Moynihan was in the Broadway production of Richard III alongside Al Pacino.
What?
Before he was in Porky's.
Wow.
I know.
That's some range.
That is some range, right?
Yeah.
And then the next thing he did, he was measuring his penis in the morning with a ruler. Look at that. Hey, you got range. Mark Harrier was in, actually when Porky's came out, he was in the #1 movie at the time and also was in the #1 show in New York at the same time.
Whoa.
And it was called, I've never heard of this show. Sister Mary Ignatius Explains It All for You. I think it was a straight play. I don't think it was a musical. So, but that was the #1 show in New York at the time. So he was in both. Isn't that weird? Like he was the star of both.
What a year.
I know. What a year. So that's just fun little facts about them. Like you have these serious New York actors that are in fucking Porky.
I mean, I will say, like, I, as a person who tends to, when I want to be in something, I do look for something a little more edgy.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like,
well, you want to do different
if
stuff.
I'm going to spend the time doing something, I want to do something different or weird or whatever, you know? So, I mean, I get it.
Oh, yeah, me
too. It is just interesting because they're young, right? Were they in their 20s?
Yeah, they were young. It was like they were 20s. Yeah.
Wow.
And of course you recognize Kim Cattrall.
Yes.
Who plays Miss Honeywell. She said she actually had a lot of trouble getting serious roles after this movie.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. But she's probably the most well-known actor from this movie.
But you have to think this movie helped her get Sex and the City.
I know.
Even though it was like way later.
Way later.
Because it's clear it's clear she could commit to that level of
and she wasn't
talking
scared
about sexuality or behaving in a sexual way on screen, like
which we'll talk about because I have issues with that whole fucking scene.
Oh, me too.
Anyway, y'all already know what I'm gonna say, so it's fine. People, by the way, cannot wait to hear our opinions on this movie.
Really?
Have you seen that?
Uh-huh.
When I posted on our socials that we were gonna do this, we had quite a few people that were like, oh my God, I can't wait to hear y'all rip into this. But guess what? We're not going to rip as bad as you think.
As bad as you think. Yeah.
Okay. So the guy that played Sheriff Wallace.
Okay.
Did you recognize him?
Alex
Karras is his name. He played George on the 80s sitcom Webster.
Okay. Yep.
And while I was watching, I kept saying to Troy, is that Mr. Belvedere? He was like, no. What? And I'm like, I swear that's Mr. Belvedere. And then he was like, and then when I looked him up, I was like, oh, it was Webster. I knew it was some like 80s sitcom.
That's funny.
But interestingly enough, he was married to the actress who played Cherry Forever.
Oh, really?
In real life.
Oh my God.
Yes, her name is Susan Clark. And she also played his wife, Catherine, on Webster.
Wow.
So
she looked really familiar to me.
That's why.
And I couldn't place her.
And I mean, they both did lots of like TV movies and series and all
like
of that.
familiar faces during that time.
But yeah, they were real life married at the time.
Okay. That's kind of fun. Do a movie with your spouse.
Yeah. So Cherry Forever and Sheriff Wallace were married in real life.
Okay.
Cherry Forever. I just love that. I forgot how funny that name was.
It's so funny. I love it.
Like if I had a career like that where I was a bayou hooker, I would like a name like Cherry Forever. Sorry.
Well, you can't use your real name. You got to come up with something.
I will never do that as a job, but
well,
who
never
knows?
say never.
I know. Cherry Forever. Okay, moving on. The only other thing was when, in the beginning of the movie, the first scene is Pee-wee in the bed.
Yes.
And his mom comes in. I was like, why the fuck is she so old?
She was really old.
Right? You noticed that, yeah? So she was 59. The lady playing his mom was 59 at the time of filming. What?
Why did they
which means she would have been 42, like between 42 and 45 when she gave birth to Pee-wee.
Yeah, that's silly.
Which during that time was never happened.
That's an odd casting.
Right?
Not that there's anything wrong with being 59, but
no, but 59,
You didn't have
Yeah.
like an actress in her 40s that could come in and open the curtains and yell at him?
Because she was only there for that scene.
Yeah, weird.
Anyway,
Weird.
that was just a fun little fact.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're going to jump into our notes in a second.
Okay.
Obviously, the big things, problematic things in this movie are things that people know about. I mean, the misogyny, the voyeurism, the racism,
Mhm.
all of these are the big things. So I actually found a few common comments that Bob Clark said about the problematic elements. So I'm going to tell you and then we'll discuss.
Okay.
And then we'll jump into our own thoughts on the movie.
Sounds good.
All right. So, direct quote of Bob Clark. People were railing about how racist the characters are, but this was 1954 we're talking about. Clark explained, noting that their point of view was honest to the time period in which it was set. We made it clear that the characters were contemptuous of the racism around them,
Mhm.
which,
Yeah,
is kind of true, kind of not at the same time, and we'll talk about that. He also disagreed with those who said that Porky's, with its nudity and oogling of women, was misogynistic. This is what his quote is.
Oh, God.
It's not the women who are the subject of ridicule in Porky's, not at all. It's continually the men who are made to be fools, while the girls are allowed to express their sexuality. I actually thought about that when he said it, because I said, okay, that's not wrong. But also that just sounds like you fucking didn't write it. So it's like, let's make it so women are free in their sexuality. I think you thought of that after to validate.
As to validate. That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
And the men did look like fools.
Oh yeah, they look like fucking morons.
But so did the girls who were tied up together and being like whipped by a like that part. I was like, what the heck? Like they were cattle or whatever. Like I don't know.
But that was their job.
I know. I'm just saying, like,
But right.
I don't know.
Right. So
you can't tell me that like they didn't look ridiculous.
I mean, I see what he's saying, because the girls and the boys are made fun of. They look desperate. The girls are, and like Cherry Forever is a confident like prostitute who's getting her money. Like the people who work, the girls who work in the club are just like, hey, I'm here, give me my dollars. Like, even Wendy, who's like the one, she's not ashamed. And like even the girls in the shower are not embarrassed. They're just like, whatever. Now, granted, would that really happen? No, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But so I get that. I just don't think that that's what
was really intended.
What was intended.
Like, hey, I will say, and I know we're going to talk about it as a whole.
And we could start jumping in now.
I thought that it was odd that there seemed to be random moments of a moral compass that weren't very cohesive.
I know.
So like,
I know.
Like, I'm like, is this movie about just a raunchy fun time of these youths who made some probably poor decisions, but we're gonna like laugh about it anyway? But then like the whole like Jewish stuff, and then the Jewish kid is the smart one who figures everything out,
right? And
then he like has this moment with the kid who was like
they're friends now.
I was like, this is very after school special, and I'm very confused about this.
See, I don't remember any of that. Like when Troy and I were rewatching it, we were like, wow, I don't remember like this movie being deep at parts. And it does. Like, the guy's getting beat up by his father.
Yeah.
And like
in public.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, well, let's just jump into that then, since we're already talking about it, because we don't have to go in order.
Yeah.
Where did I see where I wrote that down? The dad. Oh, okay. So this is what I don't like. Okay. You first of all, you said all the actors look the same because they're all white. Middle-aged, like not middle-aged, middle-class boys, pretty much. There's no characters of color in the movie except the one guy they hire to scare the kids.
Yes, at the beginning.
So that's a problem. But what I didn't like was how they validated the kids' racist thoughts and feelings. They excuse them because his dad's an asshole.
Yeah.
Right. Which I feel like that's a tricky thing, because I tell my kids a lot, we live in an area where there are a lot of closed-minded opinions. That's just facts. And we are an open-minded house, as yours is. And so sometimes my kids will be like frustrated by something they hear somebody say at school. And I always say, well, you got to remember, they're probably being taught that in their house. Now, I'm not saying that makes it okay, but these are still children. And even though these teenage boys look like they're 30,
yes,
they're still teenage boys.
Mhm.
But I don't like that they excuse the racism away because they're like, well, his dad's, he's a nice, because they even said, like, well, he's really a nice guy. And it's like, okay, he's fucking hateful.
Well, there's the whole scene where the two guys, who knows who they were, but they were talking to Brian. I remembered his name. And they're like, look, he's our buddy, even though we don't agree with him. You get
Billy,
that, right?
Billy was the tall brunette.
Okay.
And then Tommy was the guy getting beat up by his dad.
Okay. But I think it was Pee-wee and
was it?
that
I
were
don't know.
talking to him. But I can't remember. But they were like, it was like this whole scene where they're basically being like, we don't agree, but he's our friend. You get it. You get it, right?
You get it. And he's
it's like you're telling the person that's being but like
Right.
then that person was like, yeah, I get it.
I know.
And I was like, what? Yeah, I get what you mean though, and I don't think we were supposed, as viewers, we weren't supposed to like the kid that was being that way, and that's why they had the whole arc where like the Jewish kid then like saves the day and blah blah blah. Like as an audience, we're supposed to be rooting for that and being like, oh, maybe now that you actually, I mean, really, it's kind of deep, but like now that you've met a person,
right,
that you feel discriminatory against on a stereotypical level, it's humanized for you.
Yeah.
And that changes your beliefs or how you act, which is an important lesson. I just thought that it was like very odd.
Right.
And oddly placed.
And also too, I think this is a good analysis of what happens when people who are not from a marginalized group try to write a storyline about a marginalized group.
Yeah.
And in the way that they think the marginalized group would want it to be represented. Does that make sense?
Yes. Like they're trying to say like sort of the savior complex.
Yeah, that exactly. And I mean, this was the 80s, guys. Sure. I'm not excusing it away. I'm just saying this happened all the time. And I hope that it's better. It's getting better now. But this is a good example of what happens when white men are sitting around like, oh, you know what? We should make a statement about this. And here's how it should be. Having no input from anybody.
Right. Exactly. And then they had the black man at the beginning, and like the way, I'm not even going to repeat like the phrases they used, like the way they referred to him. And I just was like, again, maybe that was how it was then, but I still felt like it was very dehumanizing.
Well, and I thought that what they were trying to do was to show that kid was like Southern and like, and they'd said to him like, we don't do that here. Like they made it clear that they weren't okay with it. But then I was like, why even throw that in?
Yeah, that's what
like
I mean.
Once he starts talking, he's Southern. You can hear his accent.
Right. Random. Did you see the little clip where it's just like an alligator?
Yeah.
And now that you told me it's filmed in Canada,
I know.
It's almost like, reminder,
we're in Florida.
We're in the Everglades. Here's an alligator.
But also, I mean, we do be seeing alligators everywhere, guys.
It's true.
They're all over my neighborhood.
It was just funny. Oh, yeah, they're everywhere.
And guys, I had a third snake in my fucking pool.
No, not another one.
I think it's the same one.
How are they getting in? Just under the doorway?
Because somebody told me they can just squeeze up under stuff. Well, I mean, lizards get in there and they're fatter than the snakes.
That's true.
But like, guys, I think it's the same snake coming to haunt me.
That happened here. I had the same snake 2 days in a row in the studio.
How do you know it was the same guy?
Well, I don't know, but I think it was.
See, why are we being haunted by snakes? I don't know how
he got in the first time, let alone the second time.
Okay, what is it? What does that mean? What does that mean that we're being haunted by snakes?
Maybe someone knows. Maybe a listener knows.
What if it's something bad? Never mind. Don't tell us. I don't want to know.
What color was it? Black?
It's
the same one here.
Those are okay. So everybody assured me, they're like, oh, those are just garden snakes. They're non-poisonous. I'm like, bitch, I don't care. It's a snake. I don't care.
They're not harmful.
I don't care.
I'm just saying.
They're creepy.
They freaked me out too. I called my husband to come
help. And
help.
yours was big, right?
It was long. Yeah, not like thick, but long. My husband came to help because I just wanted to get it outside.
Yes.
So he brought like a dustpan and a broom just to kind of like sweep it in to take it outside, and it was mad.
Oh yeah, that's what happened to Troy. He's like, it flopped out of the thing. I was like, no, sir, chop it up.
So my husband put it like outside somewhere, and then literally the next day there was a rehearsal here that I wasn't at. And I had told one of the people running the rehearsal about it because I was like, oh my God, there was a snake here. So she sends me a picture. She's like, I think he's back.
Oh my God.
But someone who is at the rehearsal is like good with like reptiles, and that person actually like got it and like took it further away, and then we didn't see it again.
Chop it up. Like, here's my thing. I know everybody out there is ready to be like, think I'm terrible. Here's my thing. I don't like to kill pests. Let me put it that way. When they're in their own environment.
Right.
But once you come into my territory, you did. Like, if I have spiders in my house, I'm not releasing them back outside. Guess what would happen? They come right back in.
Yeah.
I'm going to smush you. If I see you on my porch, I won't. Oh, well, technically, the enclosure is a tricky.
That's tricky because it's kind of outside.
It's still outside, but
Yeah.
it's still. Well, I didn't kill it, so don't worry
You
about it.
didn't, so it's fine.
All right, anyway, back
Moving
to
on.
Porky's. Moving
Yes.
on. So, obviously, we know, like, the racism is a problem. And, yeah, I guess that's pretty much period dot.
That's just that it's a problem. Even if you were trying to give I felt like there were times they used it to try to be funny.
Yes.
As like a comic thing, and I didn't like that.
And did you notice there was Confederate flags like all over Porky's? And I think they did that on purpose to make him look bad.
Well, and they did talk about rednecks a lot.
Yeah.
Which, you know, particularly back again, I'm like, I know so much about Florida back in the 50s and 60s, but it was a lot of cattle country.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of, that's where they get the term crackers.
Right.
From the people that would crack the whip with the cattle in Florida.
Yeah.
Like, that's why that's associated with being a red, quote unquote, redneck, which I guess is also racist in its own way, both of those terms. So,
well,
but they do
actually
show that
no.
in the movie.
Would you like to know a little a fun fact about the term racism?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is gonna take it to a whole nother level. So Cooper and I were talking about this one day about he asked me basically about terms directed towards white people. Like, if you say, if I call you a redneck, or if you get called a redneck or a cracker or whatever, is that a racist term? I said, no, that can be like a stereotype term or a hateful term or, you know, whatever. And I said, but a racist term, racism is created. We kind of created that, and it has to do with people in power. So technically redneck wouldn't be a racist term. It would be, now my mind went, beep.
But it would be, it can be offensive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It can still be offensive.
It's not a race. It's not racist, right, is what you're saying. Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Look, now y'all learned something.
Ta-da.
Okay, anyway. Moving on from that, let's talk about the misogyny.
Let's do it.
So here's something that I hate in movies. Are we ready for this soapbox?
I think so.
Buckle up, and you know what I'm going to say.
I do.
And it has to do with the Miss Honeywell scene where she's screaming and hollering up in that supply room. First of all, I found it hilarious that her kink is a sweaty locker room.
I know.
I thought that was hilarious because there are people who really, I mean, listen, I will not yuck your yum. That I will not do. If that is your thing, great. That makes me want to vomit. But
that was her kink.
I thought it was funny. The part I hated in that, and I wrote this down, I hate misogynistic patriarchal sex scenes in movies, and the 80s are like totally rife with them. 60 seconds, if that, of foreplay. 60 seconds is nice. Usually it's like 10 seconds of smooching. And then not only does the female have this screaming orgasm, but multiple screaming orgasms, apparently from straight penetration directly after 60 seconds. Now, if you don't know anything about the female body, that can't happen.
Right.
Like, in that bit of time.
Right.
Listen, I hate it. This is why so many of us of a certain generation have issues. Men and women.
Yeah.
Because that's what we saw on a screen.
Yeah.
Now, granted, okay, obviously they're not going to go through. I get the joke. But when I hate it when that happens.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, and it's kind of like we were saying earlier, like trying to write in a storyline that you don't really know anything about.
Hello.
This is the same thing. Like, you don't have a woman helping you write this.
Right. And we've talked about this before, because when I see, and especially now that there's more female directors and there's more female writers and they have intimacy coaches and all these things, when I see a TV show or a movie that a woman has directed or written and there's a sex scene, it is so much more accurate.
Yeah. And I mean, I get like for film that like having an orgasm takes a while. You don't have time on film for that. Like you can't be there for 20 minutes on that scene, right?
Well, right.
I get that.
But I also do something else.
Like,
I don't know.
Do something to show the
lead up
passage
to
of
it. Like she
time
literally
or...
walked in the room. This is how it went. Walked in the room, smelled the shit. Not shit, but smelled the stuff hanging around.
Mhm.
Turned around, kissed that man for 10 seconds. Then he had her on the table or whatever that was. And she's screaming, guys. Literally, that has got to be some fantastic bullshit to get taken away in your place of work.
Yeah,
I know, guys. I know this is a movie.
It's the joke.
It's fiction.
Yeah.
It's a movie. Whatever. And then like multiple times. Now, multiple things can happen. That is true, but not that fast, guys.
Yeah. And then like when it's done, the like head coach guy is like, well, I hope you liked working here.
Yeah.
Other guy, and like that's kind of like it. And I was like, what? And all the kids are just continuing PE and like giggling about it. Like, first of all, if teenagers heard that of any generation,
they would be running to see what
they
it
would be
was.
like, wow, who is it? Where is
running.
it? Yeah,
Yes.
they wouldn't just be like continuing their jump roping, giggling.
Right.
Like, I don't know. That whole thing was weird. I didn't like it.
I mean, it's funny. I get it. Call her Lassie, whatever. Ha ha. But anyway.
I liked her character, particularly when she was kind of up against like that other teacher, the other female, and even the men. I like that she kind of held her own.
Yeah.
With like being like younger and like just wearing what she wore and stuff like that. Like I just felt like, well, that wasn't so bad. Although it was giving Samantha from Sex and the City vibes, so maybe that's why I liked it, because I was like, oh, there she is, baby Samantha. But like, but then you've got the like objectification of women both ways.
Oh yeah, movie. Because then you have the body shaming.
You've got the other teacher,
which was
who's
the
older
only joke
and
for the other PE coach. That was it.
That was it. Was that she was bigger?
Yeah,
in a bigger body. And then the shower scene, which I know we're going to talk about.
Yes.
How they can't see because
well, let's just talk about it now. We're here.
Let's do it.
The shower scene. Okay. So first of all, let me talk about the funny part of it. The funny part is that teenage boys will go to so big extents to get a glimpse of naked bodies.
Yes.
Like they were climbing under the ground. They had these, it was like, that is accurate. Like teenage boys, like the sexual obsession of teenage boys, especially those who aren't getting any relief, like, is real.
Right.
Like that's valid. And honestly, I would say not just teenage boys, girls are the same way.
Sure. Yeah.
We just
that
aren't,
whole age group.
We are not allowed as females to express it like boys are. It's getting better, but also like hormones are hormones, everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit boys harder than girls. Girls have it too.
Yeah.
FYI.
Totally agree. Yeah, like the premise that they would go to the extreme. And I wonder too for the time period, because like, and this is a rabbit hole we don't need to go down, but like young men and women now, they can find stuff to look at.
Oh,
like
true facts.
with porn and stuff. And back in 1954, I suppose there were some magazines that probably the boys
but it's harder.
But like
it was harder.
It was harder. And I'm not excusing at all what they did, but I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't think like boys today would go to that extreme to see a naked body because they don't need to.
That's true.
Also, like it'd be impossible to actually do because of you would think because of safety things in place. Thank goodness.
And there's no group showers anymore. No. Like so let's talk about the funny. So the other funny part was I was like, I never in my life had a girl group shower situation.
Me either.
Okay.
Ever.
I went to camp. I went to college. I went to PE. We did not have group showers. Right?
Never.
There was always a separation thing, even if it was just like a curtain or whatever. I was like, that doesn't happen.
I think it did though. Like back in the day.
Okay, maybe it did. But also, who takes a full shower after PE?
I know. That was like a serious shower that they had.
They were all washing their hair and like I was like, who has time for that? You have 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot. But again, it was
But
just to
also,
play into
I realized it wasn't PE class they were in. It was basketball and cheerleading practice for most of the movie. Now, the
Oh.
in-shower scene where they were body shaming that girl,
Mm-hmm.
that I think was PE.
Okay, because they all had to be at PE.
But I was like, why are they dancing in PE while there's basketball going on? It's because it was
practice.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Miss Honeywell was the cheerleading coach.
Makes sense.
But I mean, I feel like there's not even much to say about this body shaming because it just is what it is.
Yeah, it was like you said, it was kind of the only joke they had about the other teacher who wasn't Miss Honeywell, who was a female, and then it's like kind of like the only joke in the shower scene.
Yeah,
it's kind of lazy and
yeah. Well, and I just, what made me sad was I thought about that poor young actress who was the girl in the larger body, and like that. I hope she is like still taking her paycheck to the fucking bank for that movie.
Too. I hope so too. I mean, I think that anytime there's something
I
like
do
that
too.
in a movie, like where someone's supposedly unattractive for some reason.
Yes.
Obviously, you can make people look that way if you need them to for some reason, but I still always am like, man, like that must not be fun.
I know.
To be like, here, we're casting you as this men or women or whatever. So I just and kids especially, I don't know. I don't love it.
I thought there was a lot of, I hate that. Obviously, guys, I'm not okay with that whole shower thing. I mean, they're sneaky peeking, like they're spying on naked women.
So there's
voyeurism.
There's no consent.
Correct. I don't like any of it.
Right.
And then I just thought, and then they make it seem like the girls are like, oh, yay. Now, not that there may not be some girls who are okay with that. Like, I'm also, that's fine. But to think that not one of them wanted to run away.
Yeah, that was weird.
That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, they put their towels on, I guess. But yeah.
But they were like, oh, he.
Well, and then those body types were they were all
tall,
thin,
slim.
Yeah. And I was like, there's like no, even like in the 50s, like I've seen pictures of my grandmother as a young woman and like they were regular size bodies then too.
There's always been bodies of all shapes and sizes.
Always. And so I was sort of like, this is just silly. Like just finding like the skinniest, tallest women we can to put naked in this scene.
Yeah.
I don't know. Which I guess was
which is why we have problems, because then we're presented with this very, very, very limited beauty standard of what supposedly is attractive and appealing.
And it's not like they're showing us one person. They're showing us like seven or eight that look the same.
And then if you look like somebody in a different group, you're instantly not sexual. You're not considered attractive or smart or like valued.
Correct.
So I think that's all we need to say about that.
That was just bad.
I mean, y'all knew we were going to say that.
Can crash and burn forever.
Yeah, y'all knew we were going to say it. Now, I did find it humorous when the the coach went and like grabbed the penis and was like, she was like, fuck you, you stuck your wiener. She didn't say this. You stick your wiener through a hole, I got you now. Like you're going down. That's also assault. But I also thought it was funny.
Right, it is assault. You're right.
It's assault.
So the scene in the office, was that supposed to be his dad then?
That's the principal.
And who's he talking to though?
Who?
Like after that shower scene, there's like,
and she's like talking to the principal and then the coaches.
Okay.
It's the two coaches in there.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
And I hated that. I hated that because basically she's like, hey, they did something that was creepy and gross and they're just laughing at her. It was a whole, this is why I hated it. It was a whole boys will be boys vibe.
It was.
And I don't like that because listen, we're living in an era where that's coming back and is excused by lots of people high up in power, and I'm not okay with it and I don't like it. So,
yep. Agree.
Anyway, let's move on from that.
Let's go.
Because y'all, listen, there's no surprise there. Y'all knew we were going to say that.
We didn't like that scene, and like you can't be like that. And yeah,
I know. Let's see what else I have. But I mean, some of this stuff, it was not lost on me. I could not stop laughing where they prank call Wendy at work.
That was,
and she's like, Mike Hunt Is Mike Hunt here? Has anybody seen Mike Hunt?
Is Mike Hunt outside? That was so funny.
That hilarious.
Scene was good. That was good.
Like, that was funny. Like, all the pranks they did were, like, the big giant condom was funny.
That was funny.
Like, I mean, you know, and that is also checks. Teenagers are always doing pranks.
Totally.
I mean, I did
That
pranks
stuff was
all
really
the time.
funny.
That was on point.
And I liked Wendy.
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand, like, the point of her. Like, I don't know. I was just like, so we've got one woman who's, like, kind of like, quote unquote, one of the guys when it comes to, like, how she talks and how she acts and stuff. I don't know, like, why?
I don't know.
It's just weird.
I'm thinking the whole time while you're talking, like, she watched this in the early morning.
It was dark outside, and not
sober as all get out. Did you even have coffee yet?
Slightly caffeinated.
Okay, at least you have caffeine.
Little bit of caffeine. In the dark of my office, just kind of like playing it. I had the captions on, but it's like the YouTube generated captions.
My God, I can't.
So not all of them were right. And then they did bleep out like bad words. Like the scene where she's saying Mike Hunt, it was just.
But she wasn't saying a bad word. She was saying Mike Hunt.
They still had it not. Because YouTube can't.
They can't decipher.
It doesn't.
Yeah, they can't decipher.
Doesn't know it's a joke.
Troy actually said when we were watching this, he's like, this is actually kind of like the American Pie of its time.
I'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the early 80s.
Yeah. And I'm sure, like, I don't know. I mean, I get that, like, people probably liked it because it was sort of over the top.
Yeah, it was raunchy,
stuff.
And they didn't have a lot of. Also, can we talking about teenage boys and how like desperate they are? Can we talk about how funny it was that they're all butt ass naked in that rundown shack, all sitting there next to each other,
just waiting,
listening to what they think are people having sex, and I'm just like, what?
I know. And that's at the beginning of the movie.
I know.
So I was very much like,
I was laughing.
Oh my God, what is this movie?
I was laughing so hard because I'm like, but that's accurate with how desperate teen boys are. They don't care. And also I've thought, this is a very deep thought. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I thought that's such a good example of how straight men have been taught to be comfortable with their sexuality and their nudity, and women have not.
Yeah. Like they weren't embarrassed by it, and they weren't looking at each other. They just were. They were just naked.
Right. And that's because society has said, this is okay for you. You're allowed to be a sexual being. You're allowed to feel these things and do whatever. But women have not been given that same. Women, not just women, but people of all gender expressions and all different. It's just straight men.
Right.
That's it. White straight men, period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, that was a deep thought.
Well, I mean, I guess it was a good description of that, because like I was like, what is happening? But then I was also like, okay, yeah.
But they do. I mean, boys are they'll have measuring contests, they'll have pissing contests.
Of course.
They'll do other things in a room together. I always thought it was so weird. Like boys going to strip clubs together. I always thought it was so strange. Like, yeah. But then I was like, well, I've been to male strip club, but they're like a whole other thing. Like that's not. It's different. It's a different vibe, and not felt weird being with my female friends.
Right.
But I think most of the time, it's more out of like an entertainment aspect instead of like, ooh, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Like you're just, it's exciting in like an eye candy kind of way.
Yeah, but not like
oh wow,
I'm Randy.
But it's not like, oh my God, now I need to.
Well, I mean, it can be for some people, but I'm just saying in the circumstances when I was there, it was just for funsies. Yes. Like, and mostly all I did was laugh, not at the people. It's just how cheesy it can be. And it's like, anyway, my point is that's a good example of men being allowed to be sexual.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Let me see what else. Do you have any other notes?
I don't think so. I'm gonna
let's see what I got.
Anything else in there? Those were the main things that we've covered.
Oh, this is random. I loved all the old cars in the movie.
Yeah,
I'm not like a car girly. Like I don't really know a lot about them, but I was like, I love me an old car.
I liked it too.
Nice.
Yeah, and that was my first like, oh, what time period are we in? It like took me a second like to try to figure it out, but because their clothing could have been, in my mind, like even into the 70s maybe. But yeah, the cars were really cool, and I did think they got old Florida right. Again, me, the Florida expert today.
Swear to God.
I need to calm down. But like the shacks and which is funny if they were in Canada, but maybe they did some exterior stuff in actual Florida. But I thought that they got the vibe of that right.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, you knew you weren't just in someplace in the Midwest,
right?
Like you felt like you were in South Florida, and the way that Porky's was
gator.
built, and it was the gator. The gator got. I was like, I know exactly where we are.
Okay, so can we talk about the ending?
Okay,
the whole fucking county is there at the county line. Like they had school buses. They had the marching band.
I know, it was a lot.
Like Troy goes, what the fuck is this? Like, hello? Why do they have the whole school at the county line after they blow up a building? Like extreme vandalism. And the cops are just like, cool.
Yeah.
Just blow up everything. Like,
right. And like Porky wants to like, you know, press charges or whatever. And they're like, oh, well, you were serving these like minors or whatever, which is true. Which is true.
Now, here's the thing though. The funny thing was, like, I was like, okay, they go to this extreme vandalism because, I mean, their friend got the shit beat out of him multiple times, but also he kept going back.
Right.
And also they were underage at a club.
Right.
And they're pissed that they got kicked out.
Correct. Like, it's not like they were stalking him and jumping him like in his daily routine.
You kept going back. And also y'all were breaking the law.
To a place where you know he is with muscle, with whatever.
I know.
And I was just kind of like,
this is what I wrote. I wrote extreme vandalism for getting kicked out. I also was 2 glasses of wine in at this point.
Fancy wine too.
Extreme vandalism for getting kicked out for being underage and having a dumbass friend. That's what I wrote.
All of that. All of that.
Like, really.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I watched it.
Now you know.
I know.
It's part of the culture.
It is. It is. And I feel like I needed to see it. I think so. I think I'm a better person for it. I really do.
Wow.
And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not saying I enjoyed it. It wasn't enjoyable, but I am a better person now because that's part of it. Like revisiting it and you telling me like how popular it was. Like, to me, in today's lens, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. But like, to think back, like in our lifetime,
I know
that was the case.
I know. And that is crazy. It's so funny. But then I think about, when American Pie came out.
Yeah.
Same thing. Super popular.
And that
also on our list.
Also on our list. So we'll see. There's probably problematic things in I mean, I know
I already know.
But there's probably some that we don't even remember.
Yeah.
That are gonna pop out at us.
Speaking of American Pie, I actually told this to Kaden the other day because we were talking about like going to having to like leave school to go to the bathroom or something. I don't remember why we were talking about that. And I was like, oh yeah, you should call them shit break. And I was like laughing and he's like, what? And I was like, oh wait. So there's this movie, and then Troy heard me and he was laughing and he was like, oh yeah, an American Pie. And Kaden was just standing there like, okay.
Can I go now? Are you guys done? That's so funny.
Anyway, we'll talk about shit break when we get to American Pie.
Don't worry about that.
But I mean, that's all we got. So
that was great.
What is your final star rating on Porky's?
Oh, I will give it a star.
Ooh.
For the scene, Mike Hunt, and then the gigantic.
So you give it 1 star out of 5?
Yes.
Wow.
1 star. That's it.
Okay.
That's how objectively, although I guess it's my opinion, bad I think.
Well, that's what you're allowed to have.
Yeah.
I would say 3 out of 5.
Wow.
I know.
That's pretty high.
Racism and misogyny and the patriarchy and the bullshit takes it down. I mean, I think because I already knew what was coming, like I was still able to laugh.
True.
Now, would I sit there and rewatch it every year like I would some 80s movies? Hell no. No. But I can appreciate some of the humor. I mean, yeah, I would say it just kind of hangs in the middle for me. It's just mid.
Okay.
Just mid. I don't, that doesn't mean I approve of it.
Right.
Okay, everybody, don't come for me.
All right. Well, Xennial Girl Summer.
Xennial
1
Girl
star
Summer.
and 3 stars, but don't for the movie so far.
Yeah.
So far.
Oh, do I really want to give it a 3? I don't know, guys.
Because you're like, you're saying you're knocking off 2 stars for the misogyny, the racism, whatever.
It's
That's
probably-
most of
I know
the
that's
movie.
most of the movie.
So I think you'd need probably 2.5.
Yeah, probably. All right, I'm gonna
okay.
redact my statement.
All right.
I don't know. I think I was able to laugh at the funny parts and then get pissed off at the parts that rightly so
Right.
pissed me off.
Of course. Well, that's good.
So there you go.
Nice
I don't
job.
know.
I mean, I don't. It's I don't know. I don't know if it's because the same reason I don't like cartoons. I have no idea. But like, I just don't like raunchy stuff, like at all. Like, I don't find it entertaining at all. My husband loves Howard Stern. If I get in the car and it is on, I'm like, ugh. Because as soon as I turn it on, they're like saying something about women's anatomy the second the car
like
turns
butt plugs
on,
or something.
or yeah, anything. And I'm like, who
I
listens to this?
I do like some raunchy humor.
Oh, I do not.
I do, but it has to be the right kind. I like female, positive, non-body shaming raunchy humor.
Well, maybe that's what I need to find.
That's what you need. There's tons of it out there.
I know
man.
there is.
There's
I know
tons
there
of it
is.
out. I'll send it your way.
Okay. Everyone's gonna send me all their female body positive raunchy humor. Please do, and maybe I will change my mind.
Well, you know who my favorite. Well, anyway, that's
We'll get
another.
into that.
So
Send it
anyway,
to me.
guys,
Yes.
you heard it here first. Katie
did.
does not like cartoons or raunchy humor.
Yes. So far, unless you change my mind.
I'm telling you, we
Change my
can
mind.
change her mind on this, guys. What we need, somebody out there find it, is a raunchy cartoon that is female positive, inclusive, and non-body shaming. It's out there. It's got to be.
If it exists, I will watch it, and I bet I will give it more than 1 star.
Somebody send it to us.
Send it to me.
All right, that's our first movie for Xennial Girl
Yay!
Summer.
Thank you for researching that. That was fun.
All right.
All right.
Till next time.
See you next time on Xennial Girl Summer.
Bye.